features in Word. You know, I probably use 5 of them, right, in making the documents that I do. Now, developing package software like that is difficult because you're trying to be all things to all people. We may all each be using only 5 features in Word, but we want to be using 5 different features, right? And that makes it difficult. With multimedia, though, you're telling a story, you're putting out a message, therefore you have control about what it is you're going to say, and you want to be sure that you pare things down. I'm going to quote now Albert Einstein, who said something to the effect of, things ought to be as simple as they can be, but no simpler. All right? In other words, you don't want to dumb down your message. You don't want to gloss over things. You want to tell your story, and you want to tell your story completely. But you should try to do it in the simplest way possible. All right? Another expert in their field, the fashion icon Coco Chanel, said, put on all the accessories that you want to put on, then look at yourself in the mirror and take one of them off. All right? Why is that? Well, because, gee, if you have dazzling earrings, that necklace you're wearing is going to distract people from the dazzling earrings, right? You'll make more of an impact if you wear less in terms of accessories, all right? That will allow each individual thing to stand out more and not get people distracted. Exact same thing with multimedia. If I start throwing 100 things at my viewer's going to look at that page and not know where to begin, might miss something important. A lot of things can happen. So, we talked last time about multimedia, and one of the nice things about it is with multimedia, we don't have to choose between just one of these ways of presenting the message. That being said, we do want to, apply a little discretion so that we don't overwhelm the user and throw too much stuff at them. Any questions at this point? Couple more things I want to talk about. First of all is an article on Angel that I encourage you to read. And it talks about simplicity versus innovation. All right, that's a great topic. Sort of related to that is simplicity versus complexity, right? And that sort of gets back at what I was saying a minute ago. That more isn't always necessarily better, and different isn't necessarily better. Multimedia design does have a creative aspect to it. There is chances for you to think outside of the box and do things differently. That being said, again, it's not art. We're not there simply for our expression. We're there to communicate a message. Therefore, limit the amount of, what would I say, innovative, off-the-wall, unusual elements that you have in your presentation. Right? Be very careful about that and limit it. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best. And therefore, don't look at something and say, gee, this is, really straightforward, and there's nothing radically unusual about it. That might very well be a good thing. So, take a few minutes to read that article at some point. I think they do a better job expressing the thought than I have. One thing I would like to talk about, and I mentioned it in class last time about copyright law. There is an aspect of copyright law that I want to talk about in a little more detail, and that is what's called a Creative Commons license. Has anyone heard the term before, a Creative Commons license? Yeah. A Creative Commons license works like this. Let's say I take some photographs. Well, let's back up for a second. When does a photograph be copyrighted? Let me pull out my phone. I'm going to take a picture of myself. kind of have this look on my face. When did that become copyrighted? Is this copyrighted? Let me ask you that. Do we have a no? Do we have any yeses? Yeah. This is copyrighted. The minute that you create something, it's copyrighted by law. So the minute I press that thing and it got saved there, it's copyrighted. All right? So therefore, if I were to publish this on the web, if I were to go and post it to Facebook, for example, and one of my friends that runs a business for dyeing beards, different colors, you know, could pull my picture down and use it, strictly speaking, it'd be violating copyright law, right? Because that picture I own, I've copyrighted it, and you don't have to do anything to copyright it, I guess is the important thing. The mere fact of taking the picture and when you publish it is copyrighted. What Creative Commons licensing says is this. I understand that the work I create is copyrighted. However, I'm going to grant some blanket permissions to people out there in the world. For example, you may say, this is free to use it, whatever you want to do with this, if you're in a non-commercial use of it. So in other words, if someone wanted to take my picture and post it to their personal site to say, here's a friend of mine, here's a teacher I had, that's a non-commercial use, right? They're not making any money from it. I could, through a Creative Commons license, say, yep, that's okay to do that. Or, if some non-profit organization wanted to put a picture of me on their site for whatever reason, all right? And again, it's not a commercial use, they could do it. However, if a business wanted to take that picture, I shouldn't have taken a picture for me because I know everyone's sitting there thinking, why would a business want to put a picture of this guy on their site? But you know what I mean, any picture that I take. A commercial business, though, a business is trying to make money, a for-profit business could not use it then because that is commercial use. So with a Creative Commons license, you can actually go in and choose and define in advance what restrictions you're going to put on it. All right? And then people can use them. For example, my videos in YouTube are licensed with a Creative Commons license. So, if another teacher wanted to use my video or edit it in another school somewhere, they're welcome to do so. All right? Now, if someone got the bright idea of taking all my lectures, putting them on a DVD and selling them, that would be forbidden by my Creative Commons license. The great thing about Creative Commons license is you can really specify very specifically what people can and can't do. I'm just sort of mentioning a couple of aspects. You can actually say that people can use my picture but not alter it. Or people can use my picture and alter it. So, they could take that picture of me and strip out the background and put me in front of a dragon or something like that, if it was licensed to allow them to build a piece of work on top of what I've done. Or I can say, no, you can use my picture, but you're not allowed to alter it. All right? I want to show you an example of this. And the reason I bring this up now is because, again, introducing this is something I want to do at the very beginning of the class. And secondly, as you are doing your multimedia assignments, you might need pictures or audio or something. And Creative Commons is a great way to find those. Let's go to the well-known photo sharing site, Flickr. All right. Let me do a search for snow. All right. pictures of snow. And I'm going to go down here, and I can search only for Creative Commons licensed pictures. And I can say, well, hey, even let me find ones that I can use for my commercial business. Let's say I run a snowplow service, all right, that I'm going to charge money for. I can say, all right, I want to find something that's licensed, that's free for me to use, that I'm allowed to use for commercial business, and even that I'm allowed to modify, adapt, or build upon. And I could do that search, and I still get some. All right. This looks like a good one. This, because this is used, because this is licensed with a Creative Commons license, and it allows commercial use and allows building upon it, I could take this, put it on my site, and alter it, and maybe put Sasquatch or something walking across the street or whatever. All right. Down here it says it has a little more details of the license. Oops, not right there. Some rights reserved, and it tells me. Now, the only personal condition this puts on is that you have to give credit for it. So, again, I could use this, and as long as I gave credit, I'd be okay. Now, another picture. I could say only search Creative Commons licensed items. Let's look at that one, for example. This one says I can copy it, transmit it, put it on my website. I can even do it for commercial use, but I have to give credit, and I'm not allowed to alter that work. So I couldn't add Sasquatch to this one. Let's hop around to this one. Looks like a nice one. Oh, that is a good shot. All right, this one I can use, but I have to give attribution. I can't use it to make money. So if I was a kid using this for a school report, I could do it. Or if I was a nonprofit organization, I could do it. Or if there was a personal site where, ilikebirds.com or something like that, I could use it. But if it was a commercial venture, I would not be able to use it. And I'm also not allowed to alter it. Now, I bring this up because these are a great source for students that are working on projects. I know we talked about regular copyright law in the first class, but this is another good option. And it's good for people that are maybe running small businesses, all right, or people that are working for nonprofits or creating personal sites or whatever, that you can use these legally and you don't run into the potential messes that you do about using copyrighted material, because this is legal. There actually is Creative Commons stuff for like everything, for every multimedia that you can think of. We could do a search for Creative Commons music, for example. Yes?
Since some people just have no idea how to use a camera, how far does that go? Like, could I take a picture and not add Sasquatch to it, but could I stick it in Photoshop and change the levels on it so it looks a little bit better?
Not if it says, if it says that you can, if it says that you're allowed to make a derivative work upon it, then you can do that. If it says no derivative works, then you couldn't. Well, that's a good question. How do I want to put this? I think it's my job to talk about how to do things legally and by the book. It's someone else's job to catch violators of it. I don't know. But
isn't it pretty much just on your own?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's what would make it difficult. Pretty much, yeah.
Someone who's, like, their original photo, they find, oh my gosh, someone altered it, and I did not allow them that permission.
Absolutely. That's a copyright violation. You do exactly what, like, say, the record industry did with music pirates, right? You'd sue them. And the penalties, the potential penalties for copyright violation are like crazy high. All right, they're really, really, really high. So I think that's sort of the idea. It is hard to enforce, because let's say hypothetically I ran a small snowplow business and I took one of those pictures that isn't licensed by Creative Commons and put it up on my site. What are the chances that the person that took it's going to find it? Small. If they do find it, I'm in a heap of trouble though. All right, so that's sort of the
They would
catch.
pursue it, or does that kind of stuff get taken seriously?
If they can show that it's their work and that they own copyright, absolutely they could pursue it. Absolutely. Now, how often does that happen? I'm not in a position to say it, but again, were they to pursue it, then that'd be big trouble. I mean, you could read of legal cases where, for example, the owners of the Star Wars copyright people sued people that wrote fan fiction because they're using the intellectual property of George Lucas, Lucasfilms, and so on, and all that. Now, that's a pretty high-profile one, right, and all that. If you're talking about, simply a photograph from just an individual, that'd be harder to track down. But yeah, so it's something that I can't comment again on how easy it is to catch or how often it's caught, but it is a serious issue, and the penalties are pretty high. All right, Creative Commons. I want to search for Creative Commons music. CSSmusic.com. Yeah. Okay, Yoko Ono's allowing you to remix her track "The Sun Is Down" with a Creative Commons non-commercial license. And we can go down, and somewhere here there's probably a place that we can go and search and download. If not, somewhere there would be. Here are samples of drums that you could load on your computer. Wonder if we have audio. Yeah, audio's not working. All right. The point is that's a good alternative, both for students. It's an extra sort of thing in addition to the regular copyright law exemption for students, but also for potentially for small businesses in some cases, and definitely like for nonprofit organizations. All right. One last thing before we wrap up for today is one thing that we're going to find as we go through and we look at these different medium is that we're going to see some recurring themes. We're going to see the themes, some of the same characteristics of audio we're going to see when we talk about video or animation. All right? And I'll try to always bring these and try to show the parallels between the two. All right? Probably the simplest one to talk about in the introductory part of this class is quality versus size. All right? Generally speaking, with multimedia, these two things move together. All right? In other words, a higher quality audio clip means a bigger audio clip. All right? Now, the right word. Maybe performance. That's probably a better way. As the quality of multimedia goes up, it slows things down, right? A better quality audio recording is going to take longer to download than a lower quality. A higher quality video is going to take longer to download than a lower quality video. And you always see this. That, in a way, kind of gets into the technical area, kind of a cross between the technical and design area, because you have to ask yourself, how good does the audio need to be? How good does the video need to be? Right? Someone mentioned that maybe we could have an audio interview with one of the professors here in this scheme. How would that compare? How would the quality of that compare with if I was a band and I was putting a sample of my music? Well, the voice probably doesn't need to be as high quality as the music. So that's part of the decision process that you make when you design, is how good of quality it needs to be, you know? And again, it all gets back to the purpose, and it all gets back to the story you're trying to tell, all right? If I'm trying to promote the CISS program, the quality and the sound of my voice isn't a selling point, all right? So it doesn't have to be top-level quality. If the story I'm trying to tell is, my band is a very good band and you should hire us for your wedding, all right, then the sound on the audio clip would need to be better, all right? There's millions of these little decisions that you make, and these decisions are going to be made. You can either consciously make it or let some default in some program make it for you, all right? The whole idea of being an effective multimedia designer is proactively making these decisions and deciding for your project what's best and how you're going to do these things and making all those decisions. Best way to present the story you're going to tell, and so on, and then actually implement it. All right, next week we will start on animation. All right? Your first lab is due on Monday, I believe. No, it isn't, because we have off Monday. So your first lab is due on Wednesday. In lab today, if you finish the first lab, one suggestion would be to look at creating some of those other additional journal entries. Another suggestion will be to look at the Flash tutorials and to look at the animation section, because we will be talking about that starting on Wednesday. Okay, we'll see you down the lab. Yes?
So the Flash tutorials are in Angel?
Yeah, everything's in Angel. If you go, each sort of section of the class has its own folder, so there's like a folder for the introduction, a folder for animation. Within that, there's links to the tutorials.